Kalen Polans, thank you. Joining me now to discuss all of this further, Jason Pack, a retired FBI supervisory special agent and former FEMA external affairs officer. Jason, thank you for joining us. I first want to discuss with you the security aspect of this. I think now, sitting a little more than 48 hours removed from Saturday night, I'm able to kind of consider and compare the security to other presidential events that I've had the privilege of covering at a wide range of venues. And this did seem light, may be the best word. And I'm struck by the fact that none of us attending the dinner Saturday night went through that white Secret Service tent that's usually outside the venue that I know you know well, where they check bags, do the metal detectors there, have working canines checking you out. Why do you think that didn't happen?
Well, that's a good question, Brian. Good morning. First of all, let me say I have the utmost confidence in the U.S. Secret Service. They are the best at doing it. Having said that, this particular venue for 60 years has been a place that nothing has ever happened. They've had a plan with the Metropolitan Washington Police Department, the Secret Service, and the other law enforcement folks have teamed up with the hotel security folks to provide that security. Now, they'll tell you, and I agree, that they did not get to the protectee. But having said that, I don't think anyone doubts that it was a little too close. So, and you're right, you have seen different levels of security, particularly at different events. But I try to look at this, Brian, like a cast iron skillet. Every time you cook, you don't need to get a new cast iron skillet, being a security plan. You want to season that a little bit. And this particular 60-year plan, every time they finish one of these events, they'll have that after action. Clearly, the biggest vulnerability here was the fact that he was able to check in and get past one layer or two layers of security. Now, there's those concentric circles of layers of security they've talked about that he didn't get to, but he certainly got close enough to scare everybody and to be charged with what he was yesterday.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, Jason. As we scrutinize the video of this suspect running around that corner and past those agents, is there anything about their posture that you find concerning, how at the ready or lack thereof they may have been at the time, given that this appeared to be a final checkpoint before access to the ballroom?
Yeah, looking at that, once you get everybody screened and into that room where the president is and that inner circle, that inner perimeter, sometimes you can take a sigh of relief, like we've gotten everybody in, but you're still on guard, and they were still there looking. You don't really expect somebody to come running at you like that. And the fact that they reacted as quickly as they did probably saved more lives because he was determined to get to that room. The fact that he didn't start shooting when he immediately encountered law enforcement, Brian, kind of goes to his motive a little bit. And I think that's why you saw that charge of the attempted assassination of President Trump. Because had he just wanted to create chaos and start shooting, he would have done it there when he first encountered law enforcement, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to that point, in his manifesto, he even said that he did not want conflict with law enforcement. I do want to talk about the investigation now, because that manifesto is part of it. FBI Director Patel says investigators have now accessed the alleged shooter's cell phone. What information now outside of this 48-hour bubble are authorities looking to gather, and to what end?
They're going to look for any particular places he was going on the internet, or there are other people he was talking to. No evidence of that yet, but that's part of a thorough investigation. They'll use that information and go interview folks who he may be in contact with. They'll also see if there was planning, evidence of planning on there. Anything that can go bolster this criminal complaint that was filed yesterday, those 3 charges that Caitlin talked about in the piece earlier. One charge that is absent from there is that assault on a federal officer, that uniformed Secret Service division, not the agents with the earpieces and the sunglasses, but these uniformed agents that staff these security checkpoints. It's important to know that I'm pretty sure they're going to charge him with the shooting of that agent as well. So look for that charge. What happens, though, they'll take the evidence they found at the search warrant there, you see on your screen where they were in California at his residence, and they'll take what the forensic evidence was at the hotel, combine those, and they'll go before a grand jury and get an indictment. That's the next step. That criminal complaint holds the suspect now. Initially, there was probable cause to believe he committed these 3 crimes that he was charged with yesterday. The investigation far from over, a lot of work to do with that digital footprint, going around and talking to his acquaintances, and even trying to find video from the California trip to Chicago to DC on that train. Like, what did he do on the train? Who did he talk with? How did he get those guns transported without anybody being seen? Another security flaw too is you don't have your luggage x-rayed when you check in a hotel. And that's probably some things that they're going to have to look at, whether they can use that working hotel at the same time and secure everything. I think that's really the beef with this particular security plan.
Yeah, and we know that there was security reviews after Butler, after West Palm assassination attempts. Surely there will be here. We will see what changes come about from it. Jason Pack, really appreciate your expertise, sir. Thank you.